In January 2025, a presidential transition took place at the U.S. Capitol. We tend to view modern presidential power as constantly expanding, but the raw number of unilateral directives issued by the Oval Office had actually been dropping for decades. This chart tracks the average number of executive orders issued each year by presidents since 1921. You can see a steady decline over the last century, eventually reaching an average of roughly 35 to 36 orders per year during the Bush and Obama administrations. But look at what happens when the data extends into 2025. The line breaks the historical trend, spiking to 230 executive orders in a single year. We have not seen a single-year volume of executive orders this high since 1933, during the inception of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. The architect behind this specific spike in the data is Donald Trump, entering his second term. Between January 2025 and June 2026, his administration issued a total of 497 executive documents. By analyzing this data set, we can map the exact mechanical architecture of this surge in executive action. When a president issues directives at this scale, the volume itself overrides the normal friction of the legislative process. It creates a massive administrative workload for the other branches, forcing them to react to hundreds of legal shifts before a single floor vote occurs. To understand this strategy, we need to look back at the pacing of the first Trump administration in January 2017. During his first week in office, the president issued a handful of high-profile, localized actions, like reinstating the Mexico City policy. A few days later, he issued Executive Order 13769, widely known as the travel ban. It was a singular, focused directive that commanded the nation's attention. Because the administration moved piecemeal, opposition forces could concentrate their focus, triggering massive protests and rapid legal injunctions in federal courts. Fast forward to the start of the second term in January 2025. The administration abandoned the strategy of piecemeal policy rollouts. Instead, they adopted a strategy of bulk implementation. In his first month back in office, the president issued 46 separate executive orders. This single month saw the declaration of national energy emergencies, the termination of government diversity programs, and a formal withdrawal from the World Health Organization. Releasing dozens of deep structural orders at once effectively floods the zone. It overloads the media's capacity to cover individual policies and stretches legal opposition too thin to file immediate, concentrated injunctions. Rather than executing targeted strikes that invite concentrated pushback, the 2025 approach is a blanket strategy designed to outpace the opposition's ability to respond. To understand the mechanics of this implementation, we must categorize the 497 documents issued by June 2026. This visual breaks down the total volume into three distinct instruments of power: 266 executive orders, 80 presidential memoranda, and 151 proclamations. Proclamations are the least mechanically complex, typically reserved for ceremonial events, holidays, or actions directed at private individuals. Executive orders, however, are formal directives carrying the weight of law for federal agencies. Because of their power, they come with mandatory procedural hurdles. They legally require official publication in the Federal Register and budgetary impact analyses by the Office of Management and Budget. This brings us to the 80 presidential memoranda. In practice, a memorandum is functionally equivalent to an executive order. It carries the exact same authority to direct executive branch officials, but it lacks the same procedural requirements. Using memoranda allows an administration to direct agency action while entirely bypassing the Office of Management and Budget and the Federal Register. By sidestepping cost analysis and formal publication, this mechanism removes bureaucratic friction and accelerates policy implementation. The choice between issuing an order or a memorandum is a deliberate tactical decision designed to navigate around federal oversight. Understanding how these tools are deployed leads to the next question: what exactly are they targeting? This horizontal bar chart organizes all 266 executive orders from the second term into their respective policy categories. Two categories completely dominate the data: foreign policy with 65 orders and trade and tariffs also with 65. Exactly half of all executive orders issued by the administration are concentrated strictly on international leverage and economics. The foreign policy directives include explicit, immediate actions addressing perceived national security threats from Russia, Iran, and Cuba. Meanwhile, the trade orders are used to unilaterally modify reciprocal tariff rates, specifically targeting supply chains and trade arrangements with the People's Republic of China. Historically, foreign policy is the arena where the Constitution grants the executive branch the widest latitude to act independently. By extending direct action into the realm of tariffs, the executive branch effectively takes control of trade and taxation, bypassing the need for congressional approval. By prioritizing these specific areas, the administration shifts the center of trade and foreign policy from the halls of Congress to the executive branch, where actions take effect without a legislative vote. The third major area of focus turns inward, comprising 43 specific orders targeting the administrative state. The administrative state is the internal machinery of the government itself, the vast network of federal agencies, and the civil service workforce that keeps them running. For over a century, this federal workforce has operated under rigid protections and a structured meritocracy designed to remain stable, regardless of the Oval Office. That stability is being dismantled. One key directive establishes Schedule G within the accepted service. Schedule G reclassifies federal workers, giving the executive branch the ability to alter established meritocracy rules and directly dictate accountability for career civil servants. Additional orders instituted immediate federal hiring freezes and established a new Department of Government Efficiency to consolidate remaining personnel. These 43 orders represent a targeted effort to change the rules governing how federal employees are hired, how they are evaluated, and ultimately dismissed. While the trade orders alter the nation's outward policies, the administrative directives rewire the machine that implements them, ensuring those policies outlast the administration itself. When we pull back and look at the 2025 to 2026 dataset, a clear architecture emerges. This graph layers the historical timeline with the raw volume of recent executive action. It reveals the administration's combined strategy: historic volume, tactical legal bypasses via memoranda, and precise structural targeting. This dataset is a mechanical blueprint for bypassing legislative friction entirely. By executing this volume of unilateral action, a new standard for presidential authority has been set. The modern administrative state was built during the Roosevelt administration through sweeping executive expansion, and we are witnessing an equally massive expansion today. The second Trump administration has re-engineered the mechanics of direct action, leaving behind a new baseline for how all future presidencies will wield executive power.